as our sponsor for these series. And I'd like to introduce Sherry Halphen, who's the volunteer program coordinator and VITA program coordinator for the United Way of the Lowcountry. So at this point, Sherry, take it away.
Hi, thank you, everybody. I wanted to just say thank you for having me today. Let me know if you have questions along the way, but we will have those stopping points. I am the volunteer program coordinator at United Way of the Lowcountry. I've been here 3 years now, and I have experience with volunteer management and fundraising. We moved down to Sun City 3 years ago. We built our home with my husband Matthew, and we love living down here. I love being a part of United Way. We get to do wonderful, fun things like SCORE and be involved with so many other partner agencies. It's a wonderful way for us to connect and be a part of the community. My husband will be volunteering in our community impact this afternoon, so I have him rolling up his sleeves as well. But we're going to talk about volunteer management today. I have a little bit of an agenda as why use volunteers. We're going to talk about recruiting volunteers, managing your volunteers, retaining your volunteers, and then questions along the way. I'm going to move on to the first one. So volunteers do not necessarily have the time, but they just have the heart. And it's so true. Most of the people that I volunteer with, I could say actually all of them, I just enjoy being around them, enjoy being with them. They know they're doing a good thing and it makes them feel good. But why do you want to use volunteers? Or sometimes we say, what's in it for them? Or what's in it for us? I mean, pardon me. One, it could be reducing your operating costs. This I look into in terms of the independent sector's volunteer time report. It estimates that the value of a volunteer is about $38.49 an hour in South Carolina for this year. And because of that, we always want to consider the financial value that a volunteer puts behind their hours. They actually help save us money, so in the long run. But to do that, we got to make sure that we're managing them well. So we'll talk more about that. It can increase your service delivery and quality. So these are people that are willing to roll up their sleeves, show their support, give you their attention. They're helping purely out of empathy and compassion. So you're going to see an impact on your organization because they're ready to go. And it can increase access to experience, knowledge, and skill sets. For me personally, I run the VITA program, which is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance program. We offer free taxes to those with low to moderate income. And then I help recruit volunteers for our reading program, our community impact, for our poverty simulations, you name it, at United Way. And for me, my big focus is VITA. So for us in the Lowcountry, I'm not sure about all of South Carolina, but we have a great pool of volunteers that are retirees. And because they bring such a wide range of skills, their skill sets are valuable, and it's important us to recognize and utilize them. So no matter who walks through your door as a volunteer, they have some sort of skill set that can be, you got to figure out what that is to make your, help your organization. So, and why volunteer? Another way of looking at it is what's in it for them. It's important to realize that people volunteer for different reasons. Some of the things could be passion, development, their self-esteem, resume, adventure, social, status. Whoops, sorry, went past it. So for passion, for me, a lot of people, when they volunteer, they just love having that impact of making a difference. Even if it is registering voters or doing taxes or filling up a food pantry. There's just so many ways that it can be positive for them. They can develop and learn new skill sets. For me, it can be for technical or leadership skills. Students, it's great for them for resume. And then self-esteem. A lot of people, it can help them have a sense of achievement or make them feel confident about themselves. And then as far as social, you can have a diverse range of people helping, doing one thing, and they become friends. They may meet outside of volunteering, or they may become an employee. But And then also status, the volunteer gets to brag. In terms of that, I'm thinking you're able to kind of have the volunteers, they're able to tell the community what they're doing and how much they love doing it and how they're helping. So it gives them a right to brag about it. Volunteering should be a perfect fit with your organization. So your volunteers' motivations and their skills need to match with the mission and the organization needs. And to do that, we kind of want to make sure that we understand that. Does anybody have any questions about what I just went over? No? Okay, I'm going to keep going unless you guys stop me. So, in terms of volunteer recruitment, how do you recruit the perfect volunteer? For me, the organization's reputation is the most important tool. So people want to work for somebody or volunteer with an organization when they use their time well. That's probably one of the hardest things for a volunteer is making sure that they're not feeling unuseful. We want to make sure that we utilize them the best that we can. You want to create a clear pitch. You want to create a clear, compelling mission and a message. For me, I feel like it's more about you want to make sure you want to tell them the specific things about the program so that they understand what they're going to be involved in. And you want to identify the type of volunteer you need. You want to be specific about the experience that's needed, how long it's going to be for, whether it's short term, whether it's seasonal, whether it's weekly, or just a one-day event. You also want to create a volunteer job description. Exactly what will they be doing and what are the expectations? And defining the value will bring them to the organization. For me, I have specific data. So when someone wants to know about the value of volunteering, what am I getting out of it? What am I doing for you? For me, a big one is we had prepared over 2,200 returns for those with low to moderate income, and we saved the taxpayers over $500,000 that went back into their pockets and they were able to keep. To me, that's a huge statement. And when somebody that's interested in helping and doing taxes, it's like, I want to be a part of that. And when you look at it United States wide, the numbers are in the millions. And it's wonderful that we're able to have this service and offer it to everyone. When you create a pitch, the more information you can communicate with a potential volunteer up front, the more successful you'll be at retaining them. For us, when we talk about recruitment, we want to make sure that we, I don't know how else to say it, consider your audience. What is your target audience? So let's say you have some young professionals, you know that they're going to really want something for their resume builder. If you're presenting to the master gardener, you want to talk to them. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. So they want to show results. You don't want to place somebody that's interested in helping children and have them building houses. So you want to kind of make sure that you're targeting the different people that you're interested in. And what are the benefits of volunteering? Some of the benefits that people don't always think about that I like to always refer to is the health benefits of volunteering. It helps reduce stress. It helps reduce tension, depression, anxiety. It can also make you feel more connected with your community and improve your confidence. So for me, it's a great way for you to have those are the side effects of volunteering and let people know it's just a wonderful thing to get involved in. But we always have to look at the barriers and try to work around them. So some of them would be like time. They may not have enough time to commit to working because of work or their family obligations. They might have some financial concerns, like the cost of travel to get to and from where they're going to volunteer. Some of them may feel that they don't have the skills or the experience that you're looking for. Or they may lack the opportunity to match with the skills that you have. So for me, when I recruit for taxes, people are like, no, I don't do taxes. But for me, if I talk them down to the point of where we need help just at the site, you don't have to prepare taxes. We have other volunteer opportunities. I can usually talk to them, and if they're interested, have them sign up. So you really you might have that as well. And when people may not find the opportunity flexible enough. I think that's probably one of the hardest with their schedules. We've got a lot of busy people out there, and trying to make your schedule and their schedule work can sometimes put up a barrier. And then the fear of not fitting in. We do have that where some people feel they'll not fit in with the other volunteers possibly or the staff. And then lack of interest. Majority of this is when they're don't feel like they're getting anything from their return and they don't feel appreciated, but we can help them with that. So where do you find these people? Well, for me, I don't know if you can tell, I like to talk, but I'm always talking about volunteer opportunities wherever I go with the United Way of the Lowcountry. And when it comes up in conversation, just in general, what do you do for a living? And I explain. I never usually ask, hey, do you want to volunteer? I just explain everything that I do and the good that we're doing. And then usually a little while later, a day or two or wherever, or I see them again, they'll say, hey, how do I get involved? So I currently have 3 of my neighbors that are volunteering for me, and it came about volunteering just by asking what I did for a living. So I think just when the people you meet, the people you know, you just talk about it. So just talking about it and keeping that conversation alive is important. And you never know, somebody may know somebody as well. A current list of supporters and donors. For us, we send out emails, we have postcards. I've made personal calls, just asking, are you interested in volunteering? And if you are, you kind of give them the nudge or talk them through. And we'll go through that as well. But you always want to think about the people that are already supporting you and donating to you about becoming volunteers. List of volunteers from allied partners and organizations. For me, as a volunteer program coordinator at United Way of the Lowcountry, I always have to, I receive calls for all sorts of volunteer people looking for opportunities, and not all of them fill within our wheelhouse. And I will, if they want to build houses, I'll send them to Habitat. So you want to talk to your partner agencies and find out what their organization's needs are, and let them know what yours are, because you can cross volunteers from organization to organization to match with different needs. So it's always good to build that relationship. When it comes to tabling or board postings, local community events, college campuses, churches, there is the community events. I do try to go to as many as I can, whether I have a table. I do post stuff at the libraries, at the colleges, at churches. It's about getting out there. And here I like to have volunteers help me as well, because you can't always be everywhere at once when it comes to stuff in terms of promoting volunteering. And then online volunteer community announcement or website directories or email lists. For me, the biggest one in our area I would recommend is the Lowcountry Community Connections.com. It's through the community foundation, the Lowcountry Community Foundation. Everybody that will Google will usually hit that, and you'll be able to put your needs in there and you can list them, and then people reach out. I definitely get VITA volunteers and I get tutoring volunteers from there often, and a few community impact. For us, you can also do volunteersc.org and list your events on there, list your needs on there. And it's a great way when someone wants to Google, because nowadays, what's the biggest thing people do is they Google to find information. And it's a great way for you to be out there in the community. They're free services, so you can do it without a lot of effort. And then public speaking events and presentations. I'm always out recruiting volunteers. I do Kiwanis, I do your Rotaries, any type of public civic group you want to reach out to and see what they're getting involved in and see if you can talk to them. One of the biggest thing is I really do feel like referrals is huge. So this one person may not do taxes, but they may know somebody that's retired, or they know somebody that's has some time and they're willing to help out, and they send a referral that way. So never ever forget about that option. Does anybody have any questions about what I just spoke about?
Yes, there's one. We ask volunteers to sign a job description which details their role, time commitment, and what they get in exchange. Is it normal to ask volunteers, non-board members, for a time frame for a specific time frame commitment, like a year, and to send a 2-week resignation if ending their role early. It's a professional nonprofit organization.
I would say yes. I mean, to me, it's good for whoever your volunteer is to have an idea about what time you're looking for. Mine is an ongoing, continuous role. Some roles are day roles. Some it's just a project you're working on. So I don't feel like it would be wrong to be able to let them know what time frame um, that when the it may end. Maybe you can have them start another project or do something else. Is that kind of what you were looking at for?
Um, Nothing yet, but thank you.
Okay. So we're going to roll next into the volunteer management part of the program. And it's not the same as managing an employee for sure. Their expectations are higher, their motivation is different, and their paycheck has nothing to do with money. For us in the volunteer management, the screening process is that time where you could talk about setting your expectations, when it's going to start, when it's going to end. You really want to make sure that um, they are a match for the role that that you're filling. For me, one of the things that if somebody wants to work with kids, again, I'm not going to put them at the food bank and have them in the back room doing stocking the food. You really want to think in terms of what is their passion? What are they going to get? Where, and it's okay if they're not everybody's going to be able to fill your roles based on the conversation that comes in. I'd rather them be happy than force them to do something they don't want to do. So you always want to consider that in your screening process. Or orientation. This one allows you to build relationships to meet everyone, to help them be comfortable in their roles. For me, it's important when they first come, you may not have a specific orientation, but when they first come that you want to make sure you share your procedures, your do's and don'ts, and build that relationship, introduce them to everybody, because you want them to feel comfortable and welcome. When it comes to training, um, you want to set them up for success. There's nothing worse than having no direction and not understanding what you're doing when you're a volunteer. So some training's more extensive, like our tax certification. That is a lot more um, what do you call it? Detailed. Where if they're doing a 1-day event, you want them to help take tickets as people come in or sign people up. I mean, the instructions you still want to give them training and instructions on what to do, and you just need to let them know how long their training is going to be and what you expect from them. In terms of supervision, it's not always an easy task, but you want to make sure that they are on targets. You want to make sure that they're doing what you want to do. We had a volunteer come in and we said, I think it was put these notebooks together, and they punched the hole in all of the papers upside down, but no one had checked to see when they first started to make sure that they were on track. So something as simple as that can happen. You want to make sure that you supervise and make sure that things are going the way you want. You also want to be able to ask them questions and have them be able to give you feedback too. And then recognition. We can't go without recognition. I actually thank my volunteers, no matter who they are, every time I see them, because I think it's important to remind them that we are appreciative of it. Letting them know the value they bring and the time that is well spent. It's essential for them to have satisfaction as volunteers and keep coming back. And that's probably your biggest thing you need to consider. Most volunteers want and need this type of structure. So you really want to follow through. It doesn't have to be a strict structure, but something within this realm so that when you are working with them, they understand the process. So for screening, everyone's kind of different when it comes to their organization, but I have a survey interest form that people fill out, and we do it with our tutors as well. And it talks about their contact information, their experience, their interests, their references, and then background checks. So the background checks are important. I know the schools require for tutors. Not every position needs it. So you need to think about whether that's something that's important to you. But once you get that information, you want to make that connection. You want to talk to them, find their interest, kind of give them an idea about what you're expecting. And basically, you want to make sure you match what your need is with the volunteers' needs, because this is where you can make or break. If you give them something that they're like, no, I don't want to do that, they're not going to come. So you want to make sure it's something that fits both the needs and their skill level. You always build want to build relationships, and you want them to meet everyone and have them become comfortable. So you want to make that connection to what we're trying to achieve. You want to identify the impact that they'll make. Like I talked about the numbers, give them the data, set the stage and describe the environment, the people, and the training. So you want to make sure that they understand exactly what they're going to be doing, and then create a culture of appreciation and inclusiveness. So for me, I have a volunteer luncheon every year, and everybody gets together. Everyone has little parties at their own site where they get together and do stuff, because you want to make sure you bring everybody together and they get to know each other, because it does create a better atmosphere as well. In terms of training, there's equipment use, resources, policies and procedures, and safety. With equipment, you want to make sure that you have uh, instructions on how to use everything. If they're doing machinery, especially safety, what you need to go through. Resources, you definitely want to make sure that they have restroom access where they need to go, the supplies, where to get supplies if they need more, food and drink. Definitely supervision. They need to have somebody to go to if they have questions. So whoever is going to be in charge at that time or that day, you want to make sure they have their phone number and name, or know where they can find them. Your policies and procedures, definitely want to go over in training with the dress code, signing in and out, because remember, the data you get from the hours put in is worth a lot of money, in terms of a lot of value in terms of your organization. Also, if there's minors, do they have some sort of parent signature needed? And then confidentiality. I go over this because it's key. It's one of the ethics tests you take for VITA to qualify and train. It's confidentiality. They got to remember that we're dealing with people's lives, we're helping people, and that is confidential information. And then safety, depending on what type of situation you're putting them in. If it's an event outside, or if it's something that you're doing, you want to make sure that you train on how to properly store the equipment, or if it has to do with some sort of bloodborne pathogens, how to handle that safely. And why is training so important? Because for me, it can create a lot more work for you and for your coworkers. If you're not checking up on them, if you're not telling them what to do, and if they're doing whatever they just kind of feel like they want to do, the training gives them direction and it makes them follow your procedures. They may ignore safety precautions because you didn't really talk to them about that. Or they could feel lost and not sure what to do. And then they're like, I'm just not coming back. And it can create a negative experience. And you don't want that to happen and go against the organization. So you do want to set them for success. And then the purpose or supervision, of supervision. Again, I put how if you do supervise, you correct problems before they grow. You make that personal connection with them, and then you can ask questions and ask for input. And for me, you want to continue to see if you're making a good match with what they're doing. You may have to shift them somewhere else. Does anybody have any questions about what I just went over?
One came up, and it's is it normal to have volunteers sign a non-disclosure agreement or confidentiality agreement?
Wow. I think each organization is different. So for us, because it's a federal program for the grant, yes, they actually have to take an ethics test saying that they will, but it just depends on the level of what you're doing. and what your volunteers are doing and how much you feel. But I think you could definitely find a standard confidentiality agreement or form online to add to your training where you could have them sign it. Because it just makes it more official in the sense that it's important that they're showing their confidence, that they're not talking about what's going on behind the scenes, because we are dealing with people's personal lives. But I don't think it's required.
Um, that's about it. Plus, just to reiterate that a um, a copy of this presentation will be sent out to all registered participants today.
So I'm going to move on to our volunteer retention. And now that you have them, how do you keep them? For me, the biggest thing is that mutual beneficial relationship. We want to make sure that both parties are getting something in return. I'm always very thankful of my volunteers. I always make sure that they are doing okay and they have the supplies they need. Everything is working out. The more you show that you care and the more that you roll up your sleeves and work side by side with them, they're going to feel like they're getting something out of it because they're going to feel good about it. This involves passion, development, self-esteem, resume, adventure, social status. Are they getting what they want from volunteering? Whoops. For me, I think the last year, for my recognition, I did a couple things that I thought was important because everybody wants to be recognized differently. We gave out certificates from the IRS for participation. I gave personal handwritten notes to everyone. I also had a volunteer luncheon, and they all got a small gift. So all those things built into different ways that people feel appreciated. Some people would prefer to not be recognized at all, and a certificate's all they need. Some people would prefer to be with others and be in a social event, to have some sort of thank you. And then for me, I talked about the statistics about what their impact was as they completed the season. So for me, it's all those things that you got to kind of figure out where it is that they're getting their satisfaction and building that relationship with you when they're getting something in return by volunteering. I do want to say that why volunteers stay. There is a statistic that 33% of the volunteers stop volunteering for a specific group or organization within a year. That's a pretty high percentage. So those 33 that you might be losing, we have to figure out why. But there are some reasons why people do continue. If they like you and they're getting what they want most out of their volunteering. We do have some reasons why they fail. So if we can turn or leave, we can turn that around into other things, such as providing strong leadership, like we talked about, to measure their value and tell them what they're doing and what the difference is they're making, to match their skills with the organization needs. Again, you want to make sure that you're taking the organization and the skills that they have and melding them, because you don't want to put them into a situation where they're not happy what they're doing. And then failure to train and invest in the volunteers and staff. So training, so having all those things that we talked about really help. And then failure to recognize their contributions. So again, you always want to make sure you're thanking them and recognizing them for what they've done. Right here, we're going to talk about the same thing I just mentioned, is the recognition. You want to thank them because it's the most important thing that you can do. Thank them and thank them often, and let them know they are appreciated and needed. For me, I am, like I said, I thank mine all the time. But more important than thank you, you want to give them an individual recognition. So we do have milestones. We have a tracking for how many years they volunteered. You could do it on a yearly basis. If it's a smaller project or a smaller time frame, you can do it on a one time. And then what type of impact did your volunteers make for your organization? Again, this is going to talk back to what I mentioned earlier about all the different things that I did, but the statistics are important. They want to know what were the results, what happened when I did help. We were able to, whatever it may be, help 100 people fill their bags for the food pantry that day. Whatever it is that it'll help them show the impact that they made on your organization and make them happy. But getting to a volunteer is hard, but keeping them shouldn't be. So I want to thank you for the presentation today, and I wanted to see if you had any more questions, and I hope I helped a little bit on how to manage your volunteers, and I appreciate it.
Sherry, in today's market, where do you find most of your volunteers coming from?
And mine, because of the Lowcountry and the clients that, or well, I could say the area that I'm in, we have a lot of retirees. So I do focus on my retirees a lot within the neighborhoods that we have. A lot of them will have volunteer events, and I go and they'll have people that come to those events looking for things to do, and I'm able to help capture that. So if you do have retirement communities within your areas, it's a really good pool of people. But using Facebook is another way. We do a lot of Facebook posts and push out, and we do get some volunteers that way. And again, the Lowcountry Volunteer Connections is a great way for us to do it with on Google search. So, but yeah, for us it's retirees, but it's different for everyone.
Do have a question that just came in. Have you ever had to release a volunteer on unpleasant terms, and how did you handle it?
Yeah. I have to be honest. I've been at it for quite a long time, and I've not had to I haven't really had to deal with somebody that I've had to let loose. So I don't know how I could answer that without making something up. I don't want to say, I don't have anything specific to tell you. I'm sorry.
What are some key things that attract younger volunteers?
For me, I do go to the USCB. They have a part-time job fair. I highly recommend you look out to your universities. I do have connection with somebody at the Hilton Head school where they have a leadership program, and we connected this year, and we're trying to get some high school students. So you can definitely reach out because high school students are great, especially those that are interested in accounting or business or just want to help. They can learn a skill that they're going to take with them the rest of their life when it comes to taxes for the VITA program. But reaching out to them, I think it's a great way when you reach out to colleges. I was able to sign up 6 people just by talking to them for our Read and Do tutoring program and our volunteer program. So connecting with the right people too within the schools. You want to make sure you're reaching out to the head people in the different, I guess like the business school. I met with the woman in charge of student life, and she's been posting our volunteer opportunities. And they also have it's a software they use to post jobs that you can handshake that you can get on and post electronically. So there's so many different ways, but for me, I'm a people person. So putting myself in front of the people that I'm trying to talk to and getting myself there is the best way that I have.
Okay, it looks like that's about it on the questions, unless anyone else has something. Well, Sherry, thank you so much for giving us this information today. We sure appreciate that. And I'd like to, at this point, just remind everyone that we do have an annual nonprofit workshop series going on. Uh, The next event is on October 8th, and that's regarding board management. You can register again online for that. And sponsors for this, of course, are the Coastal States Bank and our partners at United Way of the Lowcountry. Additionally, the ESER agency is also doing a webinar series for 2024, and what they focus in on is trends in marketing. The next marketing seminar will be on November 5th, and that's entitled Marketing Evolution, Old Platforms and New Strategies. All the sessions are on Tuesdays from 12 to 1, and they're open to all, and they're complimentary via Zoom. And if you feel like you'd like to be part of something special, SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer business mentors with over 10,000 volunteers and 226 plus chapters. And our volunteers come from many backgrounds and serve a lot of different roles. You can be a business mentor, workshop presenters or moderators, social media expertise. They're looking for graphic designers and other behind the scenes support, such as subject matter experts and administrative support. There is an immediate need for Spanish speaking business mentors. And so if you decide that you'd like to explore becoming a volunteer, please visit score.org/SC Lowcountry. And you can follow us on Score SC Lowcountry on social media. You can join our online community of expert SCORE business mentors and small business clients today on Facebook, or follow us on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and also on YouTube. And once again, we just want to thank our sponsors today, which is Coastal States Bank, and our partners with our partners of United Way of the Lowcountry. And just to let you know, our program is funded through a cooperative of the SBA. All opinions, conclusions, and/or recommendations expressed herein are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the SBA. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.